The decision was obviously a very difficult one for our industry and for FIA. It wasn't something we came to lightly. When our board met last week to talk about that in emergency session, it was quite a moment, to go through the facts of why we wanted to cancel, but it really came down to the health and safety of participants. And I think in hindsight, it's clear that's the right decision. But at the time, we were making a call with not perfect information. So to hear the roll call of board members unanimously deciding to cancel was a very solemn moment for us. Really because, as you mentioned, Boca is the premier conference for our industry. It allows people to come together, to get deals done, to see each other in a very efficient way. Boca has almost become a state of mind. I mean, every year I go to Boca and I have sort of a renewed sense of optimism for our industry coming out of that. And while we'll survive, and it was the right decision to make, I'm going to miss dearly all the things that you get out of Boca, whether it's connecting with people, reacquainting with friends, hearing new news and new opportunities for our industry. So those are things we'll miss this year. We'll survive because we're a very resilient industry, but it's worth, and it's okay to talk about it and grieve a bit, so we can move on, and we will move on, and I'm optimistic about that. We, surveyed roughly 175 market participants, whether it was from exchanges, from the sell side and FCMs, and also customers, but really trying to get a sentiment of the industry of where our markets are heading. I think, as you noted, it's largely optimistic. I think people are hopeful that volumes will increase. They expect to gain customers over the coming year. But there are still issues and things that we have to overcome. Some of them are regulatory. Some of them are market structure. And the survey does a pretty good job of identifying some of those issues. People are worried about, borders closing and access to markets. That was, a concern among market participants. We want to make sure that customers can get to markets and hedge risk. People are excited about China. I found it interesting that almost 50% of respondents were either already in China or about to be in China. That's amazing out of our market, that China is now opening up for our marketplace and has tremendous opportunities for us to grow our industry into China. But there is also issues around consolidation and competition. I think consolidation is happening across the board. We see it happening at the exchange and clearinghouse space. We see it at the FCM sell side space, and we see it at the customer space. So how does that impact competition? Are we able to get new entrants into our world to make sure that people are competing and innovating and keeping the incumbents on their toes, which is what competition does and keeps costs reasonable. So we are looking at that to make sure that our markets stay competitive and fair, that people have access to markets globally. And that really was what drives FIA's mission. So FIA Tech is a wholly owned subsidiary of FIA, the trade association, so provides a lot of services for the industry in a utility manner, mainly around give-up trades and the payment structures around those give-up trades. But FIA has a data center that it utilizes, a third-party data center that was compromised by a cyberattack. FIA Tech and its systems were not compromised, and everything that we know to date, no customer data was stolen. But it did give us an exercise in resilience where we had to reconstruct our backup systems. We had to, in a crisis situation, make sure we were communicating with our clients, with the industry. And so there are some lessons learned there. I think we have taken steps to ensure that this doesn't happen again at FIA Tech, and those things will be finalized in the coming weeks. But we also hope to use this incident as a teaching mechanism for our industry. FIA is about education, and they talk about people who are in potential for a cyber attack. There's two categories: either those who have been attacked and those who have been attacked but don't know they've been attacked. And so our hope is that we can take this cyber event and use it as a tool of how people can respond, how important communication is, how important it is to think about stakeholders in a time of crisis, and to be on top of it. So those are lessons that we learned and we hope to teach the industry going forward. It is something that we launched last year at Boca and something that we were going to address again at this year's Boca. I think certainly we made some progress. Last year we committed to trying to put more metrics around our diversity efforts, and we have published our percentages of panels and conference participation from a diversity perspective. So now we have those numbers. This year, we're committing to make sure that every panel has a diverse member on it. So that's something new that we're doing this year, as well as putting role models, diverse candidates in speaking roles and keynote addresses, and trying to make sure that we continue to press on this issue. I would say that the numbers aren't wonderful because the industry numbers aren't wonderful for diversity, but we're hopeful through us serving in a leadership role that we can continue to ask questions, continue to probe and press on this topic at our panels, at our conferences and leadership posts, as well as the networking events that we host at many of our conferences. Last year we had an event at IDX, as well as our conference in Chicago, FIA Expo, where we brought together a diverse peer group for employment, leadership training. And that was very helpful. And we're starting to see some of the fruits of that labor, where people are starting to get together and network, where they have met each other and connected. And the hope is that that network starts to spread. So we continue to make progress. We hope to make more progress this year. We're not where we need to be, but each step every day, we're going to hopefully make some progress in 2020. Cross-border remains a big topic. We still have the Europeans who have passed the law EMIR 2.2, which has the potential to regulate foreign CCPs directly from the EU. So this is not dissimilar from what the CFTC did many years back in the Gensler administration, when there wasn't laws in place elsewhere in the world, and they had to directly regulate foreign CCPs in order to continue to have access to markets around the world. However, everybody now has their post-crisis reforms in, and we're trying to recalibrate how foreign CCPs and people have access to those entities. FIA's strong view is that we need a system of deference. There are strong regulations, people living by global standards, by regulatory authorities around the globe. As long as those local regulators can show that they're up to those high global standards of regulation, there should be deference by foreign jurisdictions that don't have the nexus to those marketplaces. And so the CFTC needs to take steps to get there. The EU needs to take steps to get there. But FIA's role is to make sure that we even-handedly support deference around the globe, no matter what jurisdiction is looking at that. So we're making sure that we're the sort of standard bearer of this system. It's worked very well globally for many years, and we think it can work going forward as well. So that's going to be a big topic for consideration in the coming months and the entirety of 2020. I just wish and I thank the members of FIA for their understanding with our cancellation of Boca. It's so disappointing for sponsors, for people who are going down for the first time, and veterans that have been going for many years. So especially for the Lothian Group and all that they do to make Boca successful. So there's always another day. There's always another Boca 2021. But we are thankful for people and their understanding and support during this terrible time. And we'll make sure that we're watching the markets to make sure that the volatile markets continue to work, our industry continues to work, and we're looking forward to sunnier and healthier days.